So, new bike. It's a DR200, or over here it's a DF200. It's a farm model. It's got the two racks. It's got a left and a right side stand. It's got a heavy duty skid plate and guards. Comes with bar guards usually. And it's got a kickstart and electric start. This one, yeah, I just literally just picked it up and unloaded it. I haven't looked at it at all. Solder's not going. So we're going to see how bad it is. Best case scenario, it starts with a fresh plug and some gas. Worst case scenario, I take the parts off that I want for my other bike and scrap the rest, wreck it out. It doesn't look too bad. So we'll just run through what I normally check out. So just looking at it, I can see looks like both the fork seals are gone. That's pretty typical for these. It looks like there's oil probably in the sump, but then when I tipped it over I saw some fuel drip out on the ground, so it could be that carb is leaking, the petcock is leaking. I saw it was left on, so potentially the sump is full of fuel. Just smells like oil, so it's probably alright. Maybe a little burnt, but doesn't smell too bad. Plug is pretty grubby, but again not too bad. Looks like there's a bit of an oil leak coming out some of these bolts or something. The brakes felt alright as I was unloading it. So what have we got? Fuel on reserve. We'll leave it on reserve. Came with a key, that's nice. It looks like the whole bike is complete, so that's pretty good. I see they didn't spring for the locking clutch. They can't have been a cow farm. Looks like the battery's alright, neutral light came on. No indicators, well of course there's no indicators. Horn works. We have a headlight. Even got a headlight. So the battery must be, well, charged recently, I guess. Doesn't look like there's a brake light. That one there is disconnected. If I can short it out. No. So something with the brake is not right, maybe. None of that's too important for getting it to run. I don't know what it is with these DR200 caps, they're real hard to get off. The last one was the same as this. So, I don't know. Put the camera down and I'll have a little jiggle. So it looks like it's got a tank full of fuel. It smells alright. They might have just topped it up. I'm hoping it was in dry storage. Like it looks like it's been sitting for a while. The guy reckons it's been sitting for maybe 12 months, so hopefully it's just maybe a bit of old fuel in it, or the old spark plug. Maybe the battery's not strong enough. That starter motor might have gummed up or something. I guess worst case is that the engine, it was laid up because the engine's stuffed, so he's still right, it hasn't been running for 12 months, but not because it's been sitting. We'll have a look and see how it goes. I'll try to kickstart it. We'll see if there's any life in it. So that's a suspiciously clean plug, but it is the shit around it. So it's probably an old plug that's been cleaned up. Got another used plug here. Pretty sure this is a good one, otherwise I have to pull one out of one of the other DRs. So this is a hotter plug, I think. That'll be good enough to start it. So there was no spark coming out of that when I was kicking it. So I had a look around. I mean, I noticed that the kill switch doesn't seem to be doing anything, doesn't seem to be going in. So I wonder if that's stuck inside. So I might have to bypass that and see if we can get a spark. I think I can just take this off and do it that way. I know you can bypass it down in the loom, but I could take all this stuff off. It's easy when the bike's half in bits to start off with, but I have a feeling it's that kill switch. The last bike had a busted kill switch like that as well, it wouldn't latch in. See, it's pretty crusty in there. From memory it has to be, you earth it out. Or is it unearthed? I don't remember. I'll open it up and have a look. Make sure to spring your springs across the yard. Very important. Those contacts are pretty filthy. It's almost like algae or something in there. I wonder if it's been dropped in a pond or something. So I'll bridge those connections, see if we can get some spark out of it. So bridging that contacts, I just got a little bit of a spark out of that plug, so yeah, give it another go and see how we go. Still got that starter motor to sort out, but might start up on the Kickstarter. It wasn't a particularly strong spark, but I wasn't giving it a full kick. I blew most of the cow shit out of it there. Just a bit of old oil and muck burning off the exhaust. It was a bit smoky there, but I think it was just unburnt fuel in the exhaust and that, so I'll give it a few minutes to warm up, see how it runs. It sounds pretty nice, there's no ticking. Normally if you run these out of oil it destroys the cam. They just run in the head, there's no actual bearings, so they're pretty soft once they run out of oil. I think I should be able to get that switch back to life once I clean it out. I'll give the whole bike a clean, go through my spare parts. I've got a better seat, a few other better bits and pieces I'll swap over, and then I'll give it a full clean out, try and get all these lights and everything working, the tail light, starter motor. Starter motor is probably the same deal, that plug is full of shit. Well, it seems to run. I'm guessing these brakes are totally worn out. It looks pretty thin, that disc. Because I was really stomping on that front brake, and it was just, unless you just push it, when you're pushing it, it will lock up, but when you're riding it, it doesn't seem to do much of anything. But the suspension was dipping, so I guess it's grabbing, but it's just slipping. But that feels less than 3mm anyway, so see if I got a better one of those. The rear brake didn't seem to be doing much of anything either, so we'll open it up and see if there's anything in there. Potentially it's just full of rust or something and can be cleaned out just through no use. Usual sort of thing, the foot pegs are all broken and re-welded on. Same with the foot brake, was the same. They're normally supposed to fold back, and they always get broken and welded on. Otherwise, yeah, it's pretty good. Don't see anything majorly wrong with it. I think my other blue plastics are nicer than this, so I might swap them. See how I feel. So this is our starter relay. We'll see if there's power getting to that. But I don't see why it wouldn't, so I think it might be a issue with the wiring. So we'll start poking around with a multimeter and see what comes up. We've got World War II planes, we've got nail guns next door, and we've got someone driving piles and demolishing a building next door as well, so I'll probably cut all the sound out of this. The power was not getting to either of those, so I tested the continuity, and there was, on that orange and white wire, it just runs back to the CDI, and it didn't seem to be any breaks on the wire or anything, so it does tie into the kill switch, so you can't turn the motor over with the kill switch engaged. This is the one that came out. I'm gonna just swap that white housing into the original switch. I've cut this one up. I could add those wires back in, I guess, but if it's just that one piece, we'll hopefully get it going off there, just swapping this in. So I just put that kill switch assembly from the other switch in there, gave it a bit of a clean out so it moves in and out. Still a little bit of crap, but it goes in and out now. And that kill switch is actually tied to the starter, so the kill switch has to be engaged or disengaged before you can start it. And our bike on, starts right up. And start checking out this wiring for the brake switch. Looks like our wires are in there. The switch might be no good, or I might not even have a bulb in there. We'll open it up and check that as well. So that was easy, there's no bulb in there, but I'll just check it's getting 12 volts anyway. So there's why the front brake light wasn't working. That connector is broken off on the switch. I don't think I have a right hand side switch left. I've got a left hand side one, but I don't think that's going to bolt on there, so might order another one. They're only a couple of bucks. The rear, well, you can see it's in pieces, but I just cleaned it up a little bit and it works, so I'll clean that up, put it back in there, stick it all back together, and then there'll be a lamp working on there. So the wiring's all good. Take the bulb out of that, put it in the DR. That's just about everything on the list done. Here's our rear brake switch. You just have your plunger goes in there, spring at the bottom, held in by the foot pedal spring there. So I'm just cleaning up this ring, and then on the bike it's got the two pins, so when you press the lever down, that ring moves down and is pinched by those, so I'll just bend those back in tight so it grabs on, and you know, I'll just hit these surfaces with some sandpaper. So I found another switch and just put it in there. It's actually a left hand side switch, but I cut a notch in it. It sort of stays in place, so see that, but the light goes on there, and foot brake. There we go. So there wasn't much going on with the front or rear brake. The rear brake was better than the front. The front seems to be maybe sticking a bit, so it might need a clean out, maybe new seals. Don't know if I want to bother with that. But the rear brake just looks like it's just rusted up. That's real slick, so I think if I clean all that out, scuff these pads up a bit, it'll be alright. These bearings are really good. They've been replaced recently. Or what are they, Japanese maybe? Nachi? Yep. So those are even better than the all balls ones you get. They might be genuine Suzuki part. Tyres. Do they have a date code? Don't know. So, giving that wheel a quick hose down. So we've got 2 missing spokes here. And I've got a missing bolt on the sprocket. So I should have all those in my spare parts. I've got a full set of new spokes. I'll just rob a couple out of that. There's a 3rd broken spoke there. I'll just go through and basically listen for any dull sounding spokes. So, yeah, I'll replace those 3. I would have started with 1 and then it puts a bit of extra stress on the other ones. I think all these wheels are machine built, so spoke tension's usually not the best compared to a good hand built rim. It's my experience. So I should have a bolt, should have 3 spokes. I'll need to take this sprocket totally off to get those spokes in, and then I think I can get away with just deflating the tyre rather than taking it off. Get those spokes and poke a new nipple through. So we'll make a start on that. So if you just clamp those the old tyre down, these ones usually rust onto the rim when they're like this. So they need a bit of encouragement, and then you can flick the rim tape down. You should better get the old spoke nipple out. So there's the one came out of there. I just checked my parts. I've only got front wheel spokes, so I'm just going to take those that broken spoke out, and those that other spoke nipple out, and put a new bolt in there. And that'll have to be it for this time. See if I get some new spokes, or whether I sell the bike before that or what. But yeah, not a big problem. I can just take that sprocket off again if bike sits around. So we got that rear brake sorted out. It's just full of old rust and stuff from sitting, so bit of a clean out and scuffed the surface and the pads, and it came right. This brake bar was a bit bent, so I just straightened that out. There was a broken sprocket bolt on the other side there. I'm pretty sure they had broken it off and tried to use an extractor, and the extractor must have snapped off because it was real hard. So I welded it a bunch, but wasn't really welding into the remaining steel. I think I eventually got the broken extractor out, and I just drilled the rest out and re-threaded it to I think a 3/8 bolt rather than a M8, so pretty close to the work. Turns out there was, where are we, 3 missing spokes on that side. I didn't have any spare rear spokes. I got a bunch of front spokes, so for the price of ordering 3 spokes, you might as well buy a whole set. It's about half, 3 spokes is worth about $40 or something they want, so just order a whole set in for double that, and then you get 40 odd of them. I'm sure I'll use some others on some other bikes, but that's if I keep the bike for a bit longer. If no one wants it with like that, I'll fix it up a bit more and keep selling. The only other thing on this bike now is the front brakes. So the front brakes are really kind of sticking, I guess. The lever doesn't return nicely. It does grip when you're walking. You can stop the bike, but it just doesn't have that pressure, so I'm just going to remove it, give it a few pumps, see if I can't free that piston up. I think it's just gone gummy in there from sitting. Might need to check the fluid and flush it out, so we'll get into that. So it looks like it's full of, I don't know, clay maybe. So I think it'll come right, just cleaning it out. Pads are a bit low, but not totally gone. Dog's eating the house. Get out of here, Lola. Go away. You're not allowed that. Ah, no. Yeah, so I'll just give that a brush out. Probably it'll come right. Should check the fluid, make sure it's clean, and I think it'll be okay. Might be a bit old from sitting, but I think that'll clean up alright. So got that out. See, it's all full of mud and stuff. I feel like this bike was ridden through a, like through a lake bed or something. Pond. Maybe some wet paddock down the bottom. And it's just been put away wet is why it's got a whole bunch of like surface rust on the frame. It's like obviously not been rusty for a long time, but it looks like it's been put away, covered in this mud and stuff, and it's got algae growing on it and all sorts, so a lot of it has just been gunked up. So yeah, I'll give that a clean out, put a little lubricant stuff, copper stuff on the bits that need it, double check that piston moves. I think it will, because it was moving on the bike. Can't really do it with one hand, but so I ended up just cleaning all that out, and then had a look at the brake fluid, and it was going pretty brown, so I changed it out, re-bled the brakes, and they're alright. They're getting better as I ride it back and forth and stop it, so they're feeling pretty good. They're just about as good as a DR200 gets, I think. So I mean, that rotor there is under spec, so can't do much about that at the moment. I don't have any map gas left to burn those bolts out. So plan is now to just give it a proper clean, and that'll be it for now, I think. Change that seat. That's everything sorted except for the spokes, and the other side stand needs some attention. It's a bit loose, so probably just tighten it up. So I'm just going to hit this oxidation on the plastic. I've just got some they call it 4-0 or 4X, quite fine steel wool. So I'm just going to knock all that back, give it a polish out, and it'll probably be enough for this bike. I wouldn't you know, the next stage would be to hit it with some like 1200 grit wet and dry sandpaper and then polish it, but for an old farm bike that's probably all it wants. So you can see the oxidation on that side that I haven't hit yet, and then the front of it's cleaned up pretty good. You can take out those fine scratches with some wet and dry sandpaper, go up to about 1200, and then hit it with some polishing compound just like you would with polishing paint. Here, if you leave anything in the sun, we get a lot of UV light, so it all sort of goes chalky. You can only do this so many times because it's all the oil coming out of the plastic. So you either want to keep it out of the sun, or you can use some protectant on it. Stuff like boiled linseed oil keeps the old plastics looking pretty good. You just rub it on every 3 months or something, depending on how often you have it out. Keeps them oiled and stops them from going brittle, like some of those yellow plastics I got on the other bikes are just totally dried out and just sort of crumbling under themselves. So when it's that far gone, doing this doesn't help. But when it's like this, it's still alright. So I'll finish up the bike. I'll need to take that rack off to do the back. That cleaned up pretty well. Managed to get everything working, fixed a couple of little bits like the wobbly side stand there. Got both the front and rear brakes working. Fixed that starter kill switch. Changed the seat. There was a few little extra bits where they also did a retapper bolt in the sprocket there. Gave those plastics a polish, they came up alright. Bled the brakes. And that's just about everything. It was not too much of a big job. The only thing missing is those rear spokes, 3 broken spokes. So there was 2 missing, and then 1 was just broken in there, so I just took the remains out. I've got enough DR200, so I should probably get some, just buy a whole set of rear spokes and keep them spare. But for this one, I think that's alright. See if I can sell it now.